What is your profession?
So here we have 2,000 points of Ordo Malleus. This is made up of a vanguard detachment and a battalion. So starting off with the battalion, we have a detachment of Militarum Tempestus. These are sort of standing in for the old style inquisitorial stormtroopers. And we have today 3 Torx Primes. Each one has 2 hotshot volley guns and a twin Torx Gatling cannon. And then you have in each one of those a squad of 6 Scions. Each one has 2 melter guns, Sergeant has bolt pistol and chainsword. We then have 2 Scion command squads, each has 4 plasma. Another basic Scion squad which has 6 guys and 2 hotshot volley guns. The Sergeant doesn't have a power sword, he just has a regular sword and hotshot las pistol. And leading the detachment we have 3 commanders. One is going to be deep striking down with these guys. Each commander is armed pretty much exactly the same. He's got a command rod, and but he is the only exception. He does not have a command rod. Okay. Coming over to the Vanguard detachment, we have 3 squads of paladins led by Grandmaster. So 2 of the squads of paladins have 4 storm bolters, 4 halberds, and the Justicar has a Nemesis Demon Hammer and a storm bolter. The 3rd squad has 2 silencers, a thunder hammer, and then the 4 halberds. Now the reason I've got these is just because they're on the models, and also normally I just say the storm bolter, but I actually wanted to try out what silencers can do because they're quite interesting. And then the Grandmaster has a Nemesis stave, and a storm bolter, which means in combat, close combat he'll have a 3+ war save, because that's what the stave does. It gives you +1 to your invuln save in close combat. So there we go. Might as well just do the psychic, because obviously the Grey Knights have got a lot of psychic powers. We'll just go through what they're going to be taking now. So this squad's going to have Gate of Infinity. This squad is going to have Gate of Infinity. This squad is going to have Hammerhand, and the Grandmaster is going to have Sanctuary. So he's going to have Hammerhand, and they're going to have Sanctuary, just the other way around. So that's it. 2,000 points of Ordo Malleus. Let's see what these guys will be facing off against today. So here we have 2,000 points of Ordo Xenos. We've got pure Deathwatch army here. So going for the theme we're going for today is a battle of the Ordos. Who is the better Ordo? Obviously we don't have Ordo Hereticus here because well, no one has any sisters of battle. They're basically like gold dust these days. But Johnny's, because obviously each kill team is quite unique, and Deathwatch a very specialised army, Johnny's going to go through what each kill team has and each unit has for us now. So we'll start off over here.
Right, so the first kill team has a Sergeant with a combi melter and a Xenophase blade. Then we have 1 veteran with just a bolter. We have 3 veterans with bolters and power swords.
Okay.
Then we have a Black Shield who has lightning claws, and 2 other veterans, one with chainsword and power sword, just a little power dagger, and one with a plasma pistol and power sword.
And the Terminator has his standard loadout, assault cannon and power fist.
Assault cannon and power fist.
Okay.
And they're in the Corvus. And the Corvus has got assault cannons and hurricane bolters and missiles.
Okay.
And it can reroll once when it's shooting at ground targets. Then in my second kill team, the 6 models. So one's a Terminator with the missile launcher. And then there's 4 guys in there, including the Sergeant, who have Stalker bolters. And then this guy here just has the Ultramarine just has a normal bolter. So we put him down some long range fire. And then my next unit of infantry is a squad of 8, and that's 5 veterans. One of which is the Sergeant. He's got a combi melter and a Xenophase blade, I believe. And then the 4 guys in there are all carrying frag cannons, and then they are accompanied by a veteran with a storm shield, a Terminator with a storm shield and a thunder hammer, and another Terminator, just power fist and storm bolter. And then we have a 4th and final squad of infantry. These are equipped very much the same. Apologies, but there's a couple of models left in the army that aren't quite painted, and they're in this squad. So I have 3 frag cannons in this one. Then we have a sergeant with a shotgun, another backup dude with a shotgun. We have a vanguard with a storm shield and power sword, and then we have another 2 termies again. One loads out normally, and one with a storm shield and thunderhammer. And then in the elite section, we've got 2 venerable dreadnoughts, one with assault cannon, one with double last cannon. And then for HQ, finally, we have a watchmaster here, and then we have a librarian who's just been finished off, and then just a little captain who's got a plasma pistol and power sword, and that is 2,000 points worth of Deathwatch.
Absolutely fantastic. So, been really looking forward to getting the Deathwatch on the channel for a long time. It's 99.9% painted up, so we thought, you know what, let's just get it on the channel, no point in worrying about it. Hopefully, these guys in the future will be facing off against a Genestealer cult, but for now, they're going to have to prove who is the superior codex and who is the superior force. So, we'll be back after we've gone through Warlords and relics. So here we have the Warlords and relic bearers for both armies. So starting off with the Warlord for the Grey Knights, we're taking the Grandmaster, and he's going to have first of the fray, which means everyone within 6 inches of him can reroll charge distances. And my relic bearer today will be this guy, and he's going to have the auto reliquary of Tiberius, which means on a 2+ he can issue an extra order. The Warlord for the Deathwatch is the Watchmaster, and he is going to have the Warlord trait Lord of Hidden Knowledge, which means he can farm some command points and he gets a free reroll for various things. And his relic is going to be, it's the Tome of Ectoclades. Maybe I'm not pronounced that correctly, but basically that allows us to do additional mission tactics, so very, very good for the Deathwatch there. And I've obviously done the psychic powers for the Grey Knights already, but the psychic powers for the Deathwatch will be on this librarian. It's going to be Psychic Fortress, so they can be ignoring some mortal wounds and passing some morale, and Null Zone to basically within 6 inches get rid of the Grey Knights, or well, any enemies invulnerable saves. So quite good there. The psychic powers allow them to be tactically flexible because you can ignore 2 of the great things the Grey Knights have, which is invuns and mortal wound spam. So we'll see how effective those powers come in. Let's see the battlefield after deployment, and we'll go through the mission then as well. So the Ordo Malleus and Ordo Xenos have fully deployed here. Starting with the Malleus, we have a squad of paladins with silencers over here. Moving across, we have the 3 Tauruxes with the Melter squads and a couple of Scion Primes hiding behind this big generator. And then moving across over here, we have a little 6-man squad tucked out on the flank, and you'll see why in a minute. Coming over to the Ordo Xenos, we have a couple of dreadnoughts out here, out just ready to take names. And then over here we have a shooty kill team with Stalker Bolters, and the Corvus with a squad and the Librarian inside there. There we go. So the mission, everything else for both sides in reserve. So both sides have got loads of reserves to draw upon. Grey Knights have got 6 units, including 2 characters, and the Deathwatch have got 4 units, including 2 characters. So the mission that we're doing today is just a standard one from the book, keeping it nice and simple. Retrieval mission, 4 objectives. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then 1 is just underneath this Taurus. So there we go. So, full view of the board, sweeping view, 4 objectives, 2 very elite armies ready to tear some chunks out of each other. Let's roll off to see who goes first. So the Deathwatch has +1 to their roll. They get a 1 and I get a 3. So do you want to try and seize? Nope. You know what? That's exactly the same result that you got in our last battle report. No. Literally, same dice, same result. I don't think you should be using this purple dice. I think it's some kind of Zechian weird dice. So, the Ordo Malleus will be going first, but as we can't bring any of our reserves on in important places turn 1, it should be a relatively quick turn. So let's see what they can do after turn 1. So, lightning fast, Grey Knights, Ordo Malleus turn. These guys moved up here and then in the psychic phase teleported over to here using Gate of Infinity, and they did a couple of wounds to the Assault Cannon Dreadnought. One with I used a psychic stratagem that lets me cast another psychic power, so they used Rites of Banishment. So they were able to take a wound off that, and then all shooting from my whole army went into that dreadnought trying to get first blood, and I was a little unlucky, and unfortunately I've done 7 wounds, so it lives on 1 wound. So I haven't got first blood, but I have done quite a lot of damage to one of those dreadnoughts. So let's see how the Ordo Malleus can respond. No reserves coming in for either side this turn, so it's going to be quite... Ordo Xenos, sorry. No reserves coming in for either side this turn, so it's basically going to be like a 1,000-point game until turn 2 when it all kicks off. So let's see what happens in Ordo's Xenos turn 1. So interesting Deathwatch turn there. They defied my expectations and actually brought in all their reserves bar 1. I believe you've still got the captain in reserve. But they brought in frag squad in their deployment zone, frag squad in their deployment zone in cover, and the watchmaster there. So he was able to give all these units here rerolls. They poured in fact nearly pretty much the whole army, except this one dreadnought went into that paladin squad. At first, the Terminator's armor was just doing really well. I was making loads and loads of 4-up saves, especially against the multiple damage weapons. But to be honest, it did sort of balance out, because by the end I was failing 2-up saves, getting 1s, and so probably made more 4-ups than I should have done, and probably failed more 2-ups than I should have done. So it sort of balanced out overall. Just saying to Johnny how he's not used to facing Terminators in cover. He's normally the one with Terminators in cover, and he sort of has a better appreciation for now for how tough it can be to dig those guys out of hard cover. This guy, who I said shot at a different target, decided to shoot everything at this Taurus Prime and did 7 wounds to it, but it did use a command point to achieve that. 6 were done by twin las cannon, 1 was done by the Stormbolter. So there we go. That's it. So the Deathwatch have committed hard. Now it will be up to the Grey Knights to respond. Let's see what they can do in their turn 2. So an absolutely blistering Ordo Malleus turn really punished the Deathwatch for not doing enough damage in their first turn. So these guys jumped in here. They were able to kill 1 from here, but the majority of the damage was done by this Taurox over here, and I think there was this Taurox was over here as well, did loads of damage. This Taurox plus some other scattered shooting was able to bring these guys down to just the 4 frag cannons. Both squads have passed their morale though. They did have to use the reroll for They Shall Know No Fear. The Melter Scions jumped out pretty well, sort of balanced out I guess. In total was able to do 9 wounds to the flyer. And then the Plasma dropped in, killed the squad that was up here, and killed the Dreadnought. And then I should also say this guy mind bulleted the final win of that Dreadnought. So 1 Dreadnought killed, 2 Dreadnought killed, half a squad, absolute, and a full squad here. Not a lot left of Deathwatch. They still have assets left inside here, and both sides are now fully committed. Oh, no, Deathwatch do have a captain. Now, one thing we want to do live on camera is this guy charged in against these frag cannons. We've already rolled the hits and wounds.
28 wounds.
28 wounds. That's how many wounds he's got to take. So, 3 at a time because he's the paladin. Oh, takes 1 already. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. Past the halfway point. He's still okay. Come on.
This is the kind of stuff I have to put up with.
Yeah. He's still okay.
Play some of these dice out, right?
He's still. Oh, the armor's starting to buckle.
There's 1.
Oh, there's another one. I'm going to use a command point. Right, he's okay. Oh no, he's taking another one at a time. No, he's down. There's only 2 left. Just 2 left. What would they have been? He would have made them. So 28 wounds resulted in 3 failed saves. So quite lucky. But the hero has fallen. The Paladin has fallen, long live the Paladin. Well, just a guy in this case. So, we'll be back at the end of Deathwatch turn 3. So, absolutely devastating Deathwatch turn. They've really pulled themselves back into the game here. They had to have a good turn, and they had a really good turn. So these two frag cannon units advanced forwards pretty far. This one was able to advance 7 inches in total. This one was able to advance 11 inches from here. And because frag cannons were assault weapons, they were able to still shoot them on the frag mode, which meant that majority of the Scions, 5 were killed from here, and the last one ran away with battle shock. And 4 from the plasma squad were killed here, and 2 were killed from the plasma squad behind. So really good fire from the frag cannons there. This unit of Deathwatch were the ones that got out of the Corvus. They're led by the Librarian. And their shooting went into this squad of Scions over here, and they killed all the Scions. That guy who's left is the officer. The Melter, unfortunately, wasn't able to do anything damage there. By the way, pretty much all ammo used this turn was the AP -2. Is it Kraken rounds, is it? Or Vengeance?
So, yeah.
It's the one that's AP -2. So yeah, so they did really well, and then there was some Scions that was here, and the officer that was left up here, and they charged in.
He shot the Scions.
Oh well, yeah, his firepower. Basically, those Scions down there were torn to pieces, and the officer up there was killed. There was an officer there that the Librarian sorted out, and then the Corvus just coming all the way around. Ugh. The Corvus came over here. I had to use my last command point to keep them alive. But the Corvus put everything I had into these guys, and they survived thanks to take cover. And they have got past morale check. They've got a 1. These are led by this Kazakin sergeant. They're not going to go down easily. So yeah, basically all the Scions have been removed, bar 3. So now it comes down to the real test of the Ordos, the Grey Knights versus the actual kill teams. So there's still a lot of assets that both sides can rely upon here. But we're going to have to see how the Grey Knights can respond to this pretty crippling turn. Most of the firepower has been removed, apart from the Torxes. So we're going to have to see how the Grey Knights can respond to this in their turn 3. So what an absolutely just brutal turn. Both sides basically can't really make a save. But both sides are just putting absolute insane amounts of firepower down. No quarter is being given. The Grey Knights themselves, this squad moved forward. The Grand Master moved forward. That squad gated over there just to get within rapid fire range. Everything unloaded into the 3-man squad and just tore them to pieces. 40 Stormbolter shots just killed the 3 Deathwatch that were there. This Torx Prime, this officer got inside the Torx Prime. That Torx Prime unloaded into the 4-man frag cannon squad, killing 3 of them. Not wanting to take any chances, absolute overkill. This Torx Prime just made sure that last frag cannon went down. Those frag cannons are absolutely deadly. I don't want a single one of them left on the battlefield. Which is the case now. All frag cannons have been killed. The frag cannons are dead. Long live the frag cannons. Last thing to mention was this pretty badly wounded Torx actually really excelled himself and got a respectful number of hits and was able to actually kill one of the kill team here. He actually did 9 wounds with his Torx Gatling cannon, but Johnny was able to make all the 2-up saves, which is quite good. But yeah, that sort of balanced out because the rest of the time he couldn't make a single save. And then over here, the volley gun was able to get another wound on this. We actually realised we made a mistake last time because this thing was below half wounds. Shouldn't have been able to have been hitting these guys on 4, shouldn't have hit them on 5 as it moved. But to be fair, Johnny's rolling was so poor that we just decided to call it even. The dice gods were clearly making sure that we didn't forget. And rather than re-rolling all that, we just left it as it was. And I passed my morale, so overall, it definitely balanced out the way it should have done. So there we go. The Deathwatch are reduced to a kill team, a captain, a librarian, and a watchmaster. So basically 12-ish infantry and a flyer. But the amount of firepower these guys can bring to bear, I don't doubt that they will continue to clear away unit after unit. Let's see what they can do going into their turn 3. They've got to bring the captain in from reserve now. So another absolutely fantastic Deathwatch, and they've really pulled themselves back. Cheeky crack grenade from here, was able to blow this Taurox up. Combined shooting and close combat from these guys just shredded this Taurox. The Watchmaster alone did 4 wounds in close combat to it. Neither vehicle blew up. And then over here, this thing, the Corvus, was able to do really well, even though it's hitting on 4s, was able to do really well against the 2 remaining Scions with its Hurricane Bolter. But then it was hitting on 5s, it has gone into hover mode. It was hitting on 5s because it moved against this Taurox, and unfortunately was only able to scratch the paint and do 1 wound to it. So, not bad, but basically, the Grey Knights are just down to the Grey Knights at this point, so it's going to be interesting to see how these Paladins can do. They've not been able to get into combat yet. The Deathwatch have been stoically avoiding them, but there's nowhere for the Deathwatch to go really now. They've got to hold these objectives, and the Terminators have at least 2 turns to get there. So what can 2 units of Paladins and a Taurox do in 2 turns versus essentially 1 squad? So it's going to be interesting. Before I forget, I should say the Deathwatch captain dropped down here, just so to be in range of that. He did fire the plasma pistol at the Taurox, but he didn't do any damage, unfortunately. So there we go. Both sides down to the bare minimums. Both sides clawing for objectives at this point in the game. Let's see what they can do going into their turn 4. So finally, the Paladins have made contact. All shooting went into the Librarian, put him down to 1 wound. The Paladins had to make a 10-inch charge. They failed the first time, they made it the second time. 2 guys went into the Librarian and just killed him, unlucky rolling, and then the other 2 and the hammer went into the Watchmaster. The Halberds did well and did 3 wounds to him. The hammer went 3 attacks, and then even hitting on 3s, I only got 1 hit. I did wound, but then the 4-up save came into play. So 3 wounds done to the Watchmaster, and the Librarian is killed. So quick turn for the Grey Knights, very quick turn, but they're in amongst the Deathwatch now. Let's see what the Warriors in Black can do, the men in Black can do to fend off this encroaching silver sledgehammer. Short and sweet Deathwatch turn. We can essentially say everything went into the Paladin squad. They basically came down to the last wound, but they did finally fall. The only other thing is 1 missile went into these guys and was able to kill them. And the Watchmaster, being the coward that he was, ran away because he knew he was probably going to get a hammer to the face otherwise. So that's it. Deathwatch have committed though. It's made it much, much easier for these Paladins to get to them. That's in hover mode. It's going to be close.
It's not in hover mode anymore. It flew.
No, it's not in hover mode. I'm lying. I'm trying to cheat. It's not in hover mode, but basically, it's going to be 4 Paladins versus a kill team. Let's see who wins. The Paladins, they got in, but oh my god, I got with the 8. With the 3 halberds, I got loads of hits, something like 6 or 7 hits, and then I only got 1 wound. Just ridiculous amount of 1s and 2s, which has had an impact. Fortunately, the hammer from the Justicar went in and killed 3 more, and the Watchmaster was able to kill the remaining 2. I should say shooting killed the Terminator, and obviously a few of the bits. But basically, if the Halberds had just done what they needed to do, the Grandmaster could have gone in against the Captain and just slaughtered him. But as it is, we have surrounded the Captain. He's got to jump back so he can jump out, but if he jumps out, he abandons the objective. And it's, turn 5 for the Deathwatch next turn. So, it is interesting. Let's see what the Deathwatch can do in response. It's both sides are very badly mauled now. What an absolute nail biter of a turn. Both sides just down to the wire. This Captain jumped out and he got a 4 in his advance, and because he's a flying unit, he doesn't care about level. 16 inches, boom, tagged that objective. Definitely his. The Flyer tried to go into hover mode and come back this way to try and shoot this Scion Commander off here, but the Taurox was closer, and we did try and jimmy it and jangle it, but we couldn't get it any other way, so instead it remained in flying mode in case it goes on to the next turn, and was able to put 5 more wounds on that Taurox. It'd taken 1 before, so it's taken a total of 6. But the real just bullshit. Johnny has definitely been having some really bad luck this game. This guy, he needed anything but a 1 on his advance roll to get within range of that objective, and he got a 1. And we checked his Warlord trait doesn't allow him to reroll an advance roll.
Of course, the one thing.
Why
you would admit that?
The one thing it doesn't allow him to do is an advance roll. So he is just out of 3 inches from the centre of that objective. So Johnny's going to roll to see if the games go on.
No, I'm not. You are.
I'm going to roll on to see if the game goes on. Golden dice. If the game stays as it is, the Grey Knights will win. If the game goes on, there is a chance. It goes on. We'll be back at the end of turn 6 Grey Knights. So here we go. We just did a turn 6 wrap up for both sides because there was basically a shooting phase for Johnny and an attempted shooting phase for me. So for the Grey Knights, we moved over here. We tried to gate to kill the commander. We couldn't do it. Shoot from the torch. We just couldn't do it. So the commander, he would have taken 1 wound, but he used his reroll from his Warlord trait to save it. First time of the game, I failed gate, so probably balanced out considering I made it every other time. And in terms of the Deathwatch, they only had one thing to do. They moved the commander over there, and then they shot the officer off here. He didn't make a single save. Only the Hurricane Bolters went, and he just died, just useless basically. So as it stands, the game ends now. The Deathwatch will have 2 objectives, and they will have Linebreaker, and the Grey Knights will have 1 objective, and they will have First Blood. So Johnny's going to roll the dice now to see if it continues. It goes on a 4-up. It goes on, so let's see what happens in Grey Knight turn 7. One absolutely epic turn 7. Could not have been closer. The Grey Knights were able to get Gate of Infinity off, and we landed here. In our shooting phase, we were able to put 6 wounds on the Watchmaster, who was it? Oh, 5 wounds on the Watchmaster, and those were the saves, which meant he would have died. But Johnny had 1 command point left. He rerolled it, and he got a 3, which meant the Watchmaster stayed alive on 5 wounds, 1 wound left. We then had to make a single 9-inch charge, but we weren't in range of the captain. Rolled the 2 dice. A 5 and a 3. 8 inches. 1 inch away from victory. In the Deathwatch turn, they just finished the game off with a flourish, and it came down to exactly the last wound from the assault cannon, which just took the final hull point off the Torx. The missile did another 3. So the Torx died, and all that is left on this game, on this battle grid, is 4 paladins and a Grandmaster. 5 models for the Grey Knights. A very badly damaged corpus, which has done really well despite the fact it's been on 10 wounds for pretty much the whole game. A 1 wound hero. If Johnny had taken any other Warlord trait, he ummed and ahed at the beginning of the game which one to take. He thought, I'll just go with that one. Game changing. Game changing. Reroll last turn with his trait. 1 command point left. There you go. And this captain just observed and reported back to HQ. So, the final score, 1 objective and First Blood to the Grey Knights puts us on 4 points. 2 objectives and Linebreaker to the Deathwatch puts them on 7 points. So, absolutely epically close game. Could not have been closer. We were a bit upset because we wanted to get it on the dice wasn't counting. We just didn't think it would. It would end that way. We were just sort of playing it out. But absolutely epic game. Both sides have learned a hell of a lot. I think the Deathwatch, but after that turn 2 just beating, I think the Deathwatch did absolutely fantastically to keep going. In terms of the Grey Knights, lessons learned. The Terminators came down, and even though they were permanently in rapid fire range of their Storm Bolters, they only got into close combat by turn 4, which is really way too late for a unit which can deep strike in and has a 9-inch rerollable charge. Should really have been in turn 2, really. So that's my mistake. Deep striking well out onto the flank. Should have just deep struck in the central area and sort of said to the Deathwatch, come and take it. So lesson learned from there. Have to say, Gate of Infinity is an absolutely amazing power. Many times this game, it kept me going. Even if I was just using it to hop forward another 4 or 5 inches. And yeah, it just shows that even when all your frag cannons are gone and all your Venerable Dreadnoughts are gone. As a Deathwatch player, don't give up, because you're an elite army, so every single model that you have is absolutely just awesome. So absolutely great, because very rarely see Deathwatch win on YouTube, so it's really good to have a Deathwatch win, and such a close one. Absolutely fantastic game between these two not particularly competitive codexes, and when you put sort of two mid-tier codes against each other, you do get some absolutely epic battle reports. So there we go.
Over turn 2. I thought I was able turn 3.
Johnny said he thought he was over turn 2. He thought turn 3, that's it, wrap up. But that's it, the Scions come in, they hit hard. The Grey Knights come in and they're very intimidating. I have to say, when those Paladins hit though, 4 Paladins just went in. Even with terrible rolling, they cleaned out one of the most expensive 10-man squads that Warhammer knows about. So yeah, Paladins, absolutely epic. Those who say Grey Knights are underpowered, don't believe them.
3 wounds as well against the frag cannons pissed me off. Usually they kill termies on 1 hit.
Yeah, you cannot say enough good things about having 3 wounds. Each one of those guys is like a character, basically. But anyway, before we waffle on too much more, absolutely fantastic game. Really nice to have the Scions showing in force. Obviously, it shows how squishy they are, and really good showing how Grey Knights, even though people say they're a bottom tier codex, they really can lay down some serious hurt. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this battle report. Leave lots of comments, and I'll see you guys next time. We'll end with the shot of the hero.